Hi everyone, thanks for joining tonight. Tonight I'm going to be making goat milk soap. This particular soap is a favorite of mine, and I hope you enjoy it as well. I have frozen the milk into cubes in an ice tray, very carefully actually. And the reason for this is because milk tends to scorch when you add it to lye. Matter of fact, you'll see some folks that don't even like adding lye to the goat's milk. They'll add it to water and then add the goat's milk later. However, there is a problem with it. Well, it's not so much a problem as it is a fix for a problem that doesn't exist. What do I mean by that? Well, if you simply put your milk in an ice bath, such as this, add your lye slowly, stir your milk very carefully and slowly, you won't scorch it. I have, at least to this point, of course now it's being recorded for YouTube, so watch me scorch it. However, I think that this will be a success. So let's give it a shot and see how it goes. I've not had a problem as of yet. So let me get my spatula. And let me put on some gloves. Should be the first thing that I do, right? So I want you to see that I am smart enough to put on gloves. All right, so I'm going to start adding the lye, but just a little at a time. So just a couple of tablespoonfuls. And what I have here, by the way, is I have 31 ounces of goat milk. And this is very, very rich goat milk at that. This was, unfortunately, the mother that had the baby, that had this particular baby goat, the baby didn't survive. And in that sort of case, to help the mother, you do go ahead and milk her. And that those first milkings actually contain much more fat, much more cream, and just makes for a much richer soap in the end. So while that is a sad situation, in this particular instance, I'm not letting it go to waste. Sometimes there are, oh, and by the way, one tip I will give you too, in case you don't know this. In the event you have started your, putting your lye on your goat milk, and if it doesn't start melting right away, see, that's what cooling it does, it slows it down. You can add just a tiny splash, like that, maybe a teaspoon there. You can add that to it, and what that does, it gives the lye something to react to and start the process, which is what it is already starting to do. So that is distilled water that I added, and I just added a very small amount. And what that does, it gets the lye to start reacting and melting the milk. And I don't know that you can see this from that angle, but I dropped one of my, there we go, let me get this back in. Isn't this funny? You record and the mistakes happen. I dropped a couple of the goat milk cubes into my ice water. Not a good thing. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to continue to stir this. It's melting quite nicely. And one thing I like to do too is during the process to periodically take the temperature. And as you can see, it's a very cool 19 degrees right now. As the lye slowly melts the milk, I can add more lye. I can tell you that I have made some of the most deliciously, wonderfully creamy soaps out of this milk. And if you have an opportunity yourself to get fresh goat's milk, and I know some folks buy it powdered, I know that some folks buy it in a can, but if you can get it fresh, I don't know what it is exactly. I'm sure that there is some sort of scientific explanation, but there is such a fresh and real, authentic smell to fresh goat's milk. Okay, so I added a little more lye to it, and I'm just going to continue to stir. And while I'm doing this, I like to spin it a little bit in the ice water mix. It just makes sure that it stays cool. And you'll notice that the goat milk is retaining its creamy color. It's not getting an orange or a brown tint, which can happen when you scorch your milk. And this is why you have to be so very careful. Another tip, perhaps not a tip as much as a precaution, make sure when you're making goat milk soap that the lye is thoroughly dissolved. Because it's so opaque from the goat's milk, you're not able to see the lye as you would in water where it turns clear. This won't turn clear because it's, well, milk. And thank goodness those fats are preserved in the milk. The lye has not destroyed them. Right, so I'm going to add a little bit more lye and continue to stir. And I will do this until all of these cubes are completely dissipated and I can tell the lye is dissolved. Now, the way I tell is, well, I feel for the crystallization. You can feel those crystals with your spatula or with your spoon. If you scrape along the bottom and against the sides, you'll hear those crystals scraping, those lye crystals. So just take your time. And also I do strongly suggest with goat milk soap that you strain it through a screen, through a mesh, prior to adding to your oils. Just to make sure, because if there's any little bit that is undissolved there, we sure want to catch it. So I'm going to let this do a little spinning here. And I'm going to take the temperature again. And you'll see it's up to 35 degrees now. Oh, I'm sorry. There you go. That's up to 35 degrees. So still very nice and cold. And the goat's milk is almost completely liquefied. So I'm just stirring until I feel that the lye is dissolved. If I don't hear any crystal scraping on the bottom or on the sides. And if not, then I will add the rest of the lye. And at this point, it's sounding pretty good and smooth. So I'm going to add this last bit here. And this last bit of lye will go ahead and finish dissolving this wonderful, wonderful, rich goat's milk. Sorry, my glove was in the way there. I should look at the screen on occasion. I'm sorry. I don't have a very smart smartphone, so I'm actually using a video camera that I have. It's a little Sony camera that I've had for a few years. So I apologize if the quality's not there. Please tell me. I depend on you letting me know. And I realize I don't have much of a viewership. I think on my very first video, I've only had 12 views. And it may remain small like that. And that's okay too. But I don't care if there's 1 of you or 1,000 of you. I want this to be a pleasant experience. So please let me know. And I know there are things I need to learn, like keeping my hands out of your view so that you can see better. So the lye feels to be completely dissolved now. The goat's milk is still got a few little pieces in it here. So I'm just going to continue to stir until all of those are dissolved. And I also see there is a trace. There's some little something that's got in there, like a piece of fiber. May have been something on the glove here or on the spatula. So I will fish that out, or when running it through the screen, I'm sure that will take care of it as well. Oh, in case I didn't tell you all the information, this is 31 ounces of goat milk, and I have 13 ounces of lye here. This is super fatted to about 5%, by the way. I have in here, I have 20 ounces of olive oil, I have 10 ounces of cocoa butter, I have 20 ounces of coconut oil, I have 15 ounces of castor oil, I have 20 ounces of olive oil, and I have 10 ounces of shea butter, which the shea butter I haven't yet melted. Once all my other oils have melted, they're currently in the crock pot, slowly melting. And as soon as they're ready, I will then turn off the heat and add the shea butter, get it melted. And then once the goat milk has warmed back up a bit to a temperature to match the oil, or at least close within 10 to 15 degrees, I'll then add to that. The goat milk is now completely liquefied. It's a very nice creamy mix here. I'm not going to add any colorant to this lye mixture. There is still some lye here, by the way, on my spatula that I missed here. So I don't want to waste that, and I want to make sure that all the lye that was supposed to go into this mix goes into it. So I'm just going to scrape it on down into there. Just make sure that I got every little bit. I don't know about you, but I don't like to waste. All right, good, good, good. And also, you just don't want any undissolved lye to accidentally make its way into your soap. That can be very harsh to anyone else that might use that soap, you or any of your customers or friends or family. So it's better to be safe. Make sure you've got every little bit. So I like to scrape the sides really good too of the bowl. Try to be as thorough as I can. Make sure it's all well blended and mixed in. I don't use a stick blender on the milk. I learned a very important lesson. Unless you want whipped cream, which I ended up with at one time, I decided to use the stick blender to make sure that all that lye was good mixed. This was a long time ago. And it turned into the closest thing I can describe as a meringue or whipped cream. So I won't be doing that again. Maybe you could do it for just a couple bursts, but I sure wouldn't go beyond that. I've got some kind of little something there, and I've almost got it. I got it. I don't know what that is that was in my lye, but I'm going to take care of that right now. Don't want that in my goat's milk. I don't know what it was. All right. So that's done. So join me in a few minutes where we will add the lye water to our already melted oils. I did forget to mention that I did leave out some of the oils because I have a custom-made rose infused oil here that I'm going to be adding, because this is going to be, I want to rose scent this. This is made with real roses that I have infused into sweet almond oil. And so this actually will be replacing a few ounces of the oil that are actually in the soap. I forgot to mention that. I apologize. I just wanted to bring that up. So I actually just spilled some of it. Anyway, we'll be back. So I now have my oil and my lye down to within 10 degrees of each other. And I'm going to go ahead and put in the lye solution. And I am filtering it just in case there anything's in there we don't want. The milk has certain solids in it, so sometimes it can be a little trickier to get it to go through. It thickens up a bit. So it is going in just really, really slow. So I'll make sure and speed this up a bit for you. Online, and actually bought one at a kitchen store. I've gone through all of them. The screens in them eventually wear through, I guess, from the lye. I don't know. But this old workhorse here has hung in there. Right. Set this aside. And get this last bit in here. So that looks like we've got it through. Just push through a little bit more here. Some of those fantastic attributes of the milk. Make sure I get them all in there. Good. Okay, good. All right. Now I did go ahead and add in, I mentioned earlier that I had made a rose infused oil. So I've gone ahead and added that in as well. And I did make an allowance in the oils for that. I added 5 ounces of sweet almond oil that had been slowly infused with rose petals. And I'll try to do another video on that as well. I use my yogurt machine, and it works great for making oil infusions. I've made chamomile and lavender, calendula. They're just all sorts of things. So you can. What's great about infused oils, too, is that you can make your own colors, too. Because many of those oils, this rose did not color the oil, but many of them really do have some fantastic colors in them. Like beetroot, oh my goodness, that makes some of the most beautiful oil. It makes it this deep, I believe aubergine is the color. It's just gorgeous. Okay. All right. So I did a little hand mixing there just to break up some of those solids. Now I'm going to bring the hand mixer into the mix here. All right. Here we go. I mixed up 3 different oils here. I've got a very light pink here. I have a medium pink here. I don't know if you can really see much of these yet. And then I have a really dark reddish pink here. And what I did is, I don't have any pink, so I used rose clay. And in this one, I used about I used one teaspoon. And here I used 1 tablespoon. And in here I used a tablespoon of rose clay. And then I also had some red mica that I mixed in with that just to create a darker, I hope that it's going to be a dark pinkish red, but it's kind of looking kind of like ketchup. So I'm not sure how that'll turn out when I do my swirls. And I'm going to try to do an in the pot swirl. Okay, so this is already got a light trace. There we go. We're there. Okay. There we go. Okay, so great. I'm going to go ahead and pour this into a few containers here. Let's see. Let me turn these where I can see them. The measurements on. Okay, excellent. Excellent. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to color each of these and do an in the pot swirl, which I've not done before, and then I'll pour them in the mold. Alright, so this is my first color. Oop, sorry about that. Let me move this over a bit where you can see. I'm doing first this darker shade here. And I boo-booed. I forgot to mix it in my individual. Okay, well, I'll come up with something more interesting. Every video that I've done, it seems I have had a fail in. So maybe I really should rename this channel to the Fail channel. Soap fails in action. Okay. Alright, so that's the first one there, and I've got not enough in it, but you know what, that'll give me another whole color, so we'll just see how that turns out. So this is the medium. You know what, I'm going to do a little of the in pot here with that then. Might as well go for broke. Alright. Let me set these aside. And I've got one more color here. That's this lightest pink. All right. Okay, so I'm going to set this over here. I'm going to bring these colors out and get them blended here. So, matter of fact, I'm going to put the stick on these and try to get them blended real well. So I'll come back to you in just a moment after I get them blended. So what I'm doing is, I'm sorry I forgot to restart the camera. I'm just doing some in the pot pour here. I messed up at the beginning because I started putting it into the batter first, and so my boo-boo. But I'm hoping that these three colors do give some form of blending. I don't know. They came out not quite as different as I'd hoped they would, but I have hope. So I'm going to put them now in the mold. Get it ready here. Should have already had it ready. There we go. So here we go. This is my first like this. I've learned this from watching others, so we're going to see how it turns out. You know, I think it's going to be kind of cool, actually. I'm surprised. I don't know that the colors will meld as well as I'd hoped, but I think it's going to be something. The rose scent that I made is a very, very light scent. And I like that. It's not too much. Now, I'm also going to top these with little rose petals. But I'm going to put the divider in first. So I'm not going to do much with the top here. I may do a little swirling here. But I'm not going to do too much. So let me go around the edge here a bit. Okay. Well, I wish there was a little more of the pink in there, but not sure. I'm pretty happy with it. See, that's what I say when I'm not sure. I'm happy with it. But we'll see how this turns out. I'm going to put the dividers in. Oops, that one slipped out. There we go. Go. Okay, I'm going to top this with some rose petals here, but just a few, just to just a few here to give it just a little bit of interest. I'm not going to go too heavy with them. I would like these to embed just a tad bit in the, you know, the only thing about these kind of molds, these kind of dividers, and I don't know if you have noticed this or not, if you have experience with them, I'm a little unhappy, and I got this one from Brambleberry. I've seen some similar ones elsewhere, but these little dividers tend to bend, and it gives you you can get some misshapen bars, and I'm not thrilled about that. I know that you can heat them a tad bit and get them to straighten, but gosh, that's, you know, I just like every time I put them in there for them to fit the way they're supposed to. I'm just saying. Okay. So that's about it. So I'm going to call this one a night, and we'll look at it at unmolding. So now let me do those. Next I'm going to do the little frog mold. So let me set this aside. And here's the little frog mold. I'm sorry, I've got this camera set up in a bad sort of way. I had tried to move it, hopefully find a better way, and about there, I think. Okay. All right, so, but I promise I will fix that before the next time. Okay, so now I'm going to mix up this green for the froggies. Oh boy, it got thick too. This got rather thick on me. Oh, it's loosening up some, thank goodness. It's not quite as green. I mean, I like that, but I'm gonna add a bit more. I've got this green mica here. This is Bramble. It's a sample that I got. It's Brambleberry's evergreen mica. All right, so. I decided against doing the eyes only because, well, I just didn't want to make another smaller batch of black. That's where I have a feeling keeping some melt and pour on hand, which I make myself, would be really handy. All right. Okay, so I'm going to pour the froggies now. Oop, I over poured that one. So it's a little thick. I'm going to have to pound these down and get them into the mold a little better. Yeah, it really thickened up. Oops, and so sorry. Well, I'll just go messy here and then clean up. Where's my little spatula here? So I'll use this to kind of work them into the compartments here, all the little crevices of the mold. Okay. Okay, now let me see if I can take off some of this excess here. I don't know. What do you think of that green for frogs? I'm not sure. I was hoping it would be a tad bit darker. Matter of fact, let me spray that with just a little alcohol here. Go. Then when actually I forgot to spray these others. Should have done that before I put the rose petals on, but it'll dissipate. So, this is tonight's project. I have a little of the green left, so I may do something else. I've got a little of these others left, so I may just do something fun. But I'll be back later to unmold these, so I'll see you then. Well, I went ahead and unmolded these this morning and forgot to film it. I apologize. But they came out really nice. I'm very happy with these. I don't know if you can see much of the swirl or not. It's pretty faint. And then I don't know if you can make that out or not. Let me find a different one here. It might be a little more pronounced. Now the color, some of the lighter white turned a little more kind of a golden color, but I'm not unhappy with it. Overall, these look great. I do need to do some trim on them. Another one here. So, and I know these are a little blocky. The reason for that is the mold that I'm using currently. I'm going to switch it, or at least not use the dividers. I think I'm just going to pour it. These are great if they were made a little shallower. So I either need to make smaller batches of soap, you know, I need to use less soap perhaps, so that they're more like about 1 inch tall. Either that or I think just remove the dividers, and that way I can cut them to whatever size I want. But I'm very happy with the way these turned out. These are quite lovely. They smell fantastic. That smell of rose is there. Those infused oils did the job. So I'm very happy with the way they turned out. Now the others that I made, let me get those. The frogs. Now, this is just a few of them. I don't see any point in showing them all. They're all identical, fairly. You will see that like this one had an air bubble that I missed. But they came out nice. They have that same rose scent in them, but they're nice. I wish I had colored the eyes. That was what I forgot, was to do the eye. I can paint them, and I may do that. Just with a little bit of soap. Just take a little something like, I do have some activated carbon that I can mix with just a little bit of soap and just touch up the eyes. But they came out nice, and these will be a great gift for a friend's mother, so I'm happy they came out nice. Anyway, so that's pretty much it, folks. I just wanted to share this with you. I really appreciate you taking the time to spend here. I know this is a newer channel and there aren't many people watching yet, and maybe there won't be, but I do have a lot of fun doing this stuff, and hopefully we can share a lot more times together. So you take care. Have a fantastic weekend.